Welcome to my show, Life and Living.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Dr. Soma, nowadays, a lot of, mouth cancer patients are there. Chewing of gutkas and, different types of, masalas. I don't know. I mean, many reasons. So, it has been increased.
Of course, if we go with the statistics, the recent rates show that there has been a very, very sharp growth in the number of oral cancers, and India has been always been almost in the number one in terms of oral cancer is concerned, because there are multiple reasons. Of course, chewing tobacco, chewing pan, betel nut, gutka, etc. All these kind of stuffs are very known factors to most of them. But other than these, there are certain other factors also which generally people are not aware. Out of that, one very important factor is constant rubbing your cheek or tongue or lip, any soft tissue, with a sharp tooth edge. So many times we think, I'm getting cut very easily. Whenever I go and eat, I bite myself. Or my teeth have become so sharp that whenever I go to speak, my tongue is getting cut. So that itself is a very, very big factor that can lead to oral cancer in the future. So one point of soft tissue constantly getting abraded by a sharp jagged tooth end, or it could be even a broken denture that is pricking the person. So we say ill-fitting dentures, broken tooth, sharp jagged tooth, all these can be very, very important cause of oral cancer. It's not always that the person should be a tobacco chewer. So these kind of factors also come into play. So we are trying to raise the awareness now, first of all, and because along with general dentistry, I also do a lot of oral cancer rehabilitation work. So when a person has been diagnosed with oral cancer, most of the time the treatment requires a lot of extensive surgery. It's a huge surgery. So along with the cancerous growth, part of the jaw, part of the tongue, sometimes part of the entire face has to be removed to sacrifice so that the cancer does not progress further. So the oncosurgeon, we call it a huge operation, it's called a commando operation, which goes on for 16 to 17 hours. And after such a successful surgery, the patient definitely gets back his or her life. Then the plastic surgeon comes into play to give them some bit of reconstruction. So they sometimes pieces of bone from your hip or the rib is taken to reconstruct the jaw. Till that part, things are done, patient is reconstructed, patient is alive. But does that being alive means the patient is ready to live? Most of the times when the patient come to me after this, so the patient is now living by God's grace, patient has a bit of reconstruction done on the face, but patient is unable to speak. Patient is unable to eat, unable to enjoy food. The mouth opening is almost zero, bare minimum, because of those new tissues. They create a very strong form of contraction, like scarring happens. There's a lot of disfigurement. By the time the patient comes to me, the patient is already very, very, kind of in a detested form. They feel they cannot take in their disfigurement. They can't take the fact that they can't enjoy life like any of the others. So patients come psychologically, morally, financially, physically, absolutely in a devastated state. So when they come to me now, generally the plastic surgeons or the oncosurgeons tell, now you need to go to the dentist for rehabilitation because you need to eat your food, because they already go through a lot of extensive surgery, so their weight is already reduced. We need to help them, enable them to eat something nutritious. So patient comes, patient can't even open their mouth. Patient is, they sit in a very, very hopeless demeanor. When they come to us, their absolutely body is like, मेरा और क्या होगा डॉक्टर साहब, मैं तो जिंदगी ऐसे जिंदगी जी के क्या फायदा? First statement that they make. So my treatment of rehabilitation, by dint of working with such patients many, many years, it's been 80% I have to do psychological treatment for the patient. Bring in that motivation, bring in that trust in them that, okay, you will be able to. I remember a very sad story. I still, whenever I think of this incident, I get goosebumps. There was this 37-year-old girl, after a oral cancer reconstruction surgery, she comes to me. Her mouth opening is not even barely a finger. She has mashed food with a straw. So first thing I told her, what do you want? So she told me, डॉक्टर साहब मैं एक दिन के लिए गोलगप्पा खाना चाहती हूँ. I still get goosebumps because at that moment I sat and I contemplated that as a doctor, how helpless I am. How little can I do for her? So I told her, of course, you have gone through such a big surgery and आपने इतना झेल लिया तो गोलगप्पा भी खाएंगे हम साथ में. From there, of course, now she's better. She can at least eat her bites of roti. Golgappa abhi tak nahi hua. I am still long way to go. So these kind of structure, when they come to us, they're really morally very down. And to bring them back to that shape, when I have to every time customize things for them, because there's no hard and fast denture that will fit them. Most of them, they don't have a bone. The soft tissue is hanging. From there, to give them something with which they can speak or with which they can eat, at least some bit of food, it's a huge thing. So that itself, it's a lot of satisfaction, of course. But then to see the people, I would say they are born fighters, So people who are living and carrying on their life after that are really kudos to them. A very big salute from my side as well. Because without their cooperation, my work would have been impossible. So that is there, definitely. It's every day's journey is very interesting, to deal with them.
That is true.
And you get to see the reality of life. That it's very easy to say no. Very easy to say कि नहीं आपका तो कुछ नहीं हो सकता, आपको तो ऐसे ही जीना पड़ेगा. But when I tell them हाँ ठीक है कुछ करेंगे हम साथ में कुछ करेंगे कुछ सोचते हैं आपके लिए. The smile that I think no money can buy it. It's bigger than anything else in this world. So that's a very big thing.
So I came to know about your journey, the initial journey you talked about, the career you have built, a beautiful career, the very bright career what if you have, and the professionally you are so, now reached at a point. So if you have known so many things, I mean from your side and from your side too. So I have another thing to ask. Every life has a spiritual journey. So do you, have that kind of, any time, any point of time you have been to, some great person, you follow somebody, just, it's very interesting. I have this question I do this to my, whosoever comes.
I would, I think, Bajin first before he says. So my, birth in my family has always been a very, very spiritual kind of family. My family worshipping, they have always been a very staunch worshipper of the goddess Kali. So that's how my maternal grandfather and grandmother, they had a guru right from Dhanbad. They belong to Dhanbad and there. And then my mother and father also had taken Diksha from the same guru. When I lost my father at the age of 16, so I was in a complete state of bewilderment because my friend, philosopher, guide, everything was my father. And I was, I think, too young to understand the nuances of spirituality. I've seen my mother worshipping goddess Kali. From my childhood, I have done Shivratri and Shiv Puja and all this. But to understand the intricacies of spirituality or what it really means, of course, I was too young. So I remember once I went with my mother to Guruji's house, and I used to call him Dadu at that point of time because he was my mother's guru. And he said, come closer and sit in front of me. And he said, so what do you want to do ahead in life? I said, I want to become a doctor like my father. He said, very good. So then he said, he told my mother, bring her, I will give her Diksha. So my mother was very in awe because as it is, I was very young. And second thing, as per my mother or generations, Guruji used to say that he would not give Diksha to our unmarried girl because if she gets married to another family and they have another family deity to be worshipped, then there might be conflicts. So he said, no, I need to give her Diksha because she needs the power of mantra. She needs the power of meditation in her life ahead. And that was my first entry into the world of spirituality. I got Diksha at the age of 16 and a half. I was barely 17 at that time. And I'm very, very, I would say, fortunate to get a guru like him because he was a man of physics. He was a physics student who later on became a guru. So at that time, those in early teenage, I did not understand what spirituality means. So he explained to me everything as per the laws of physics. He taught me how mantra, if you keep on reciting a mantra, he said, forget about divinity, forget about spiritualism. If you keep on chanting the same thing, it creates a lot of kinetic energy in you. So try to build up that kinetic energy, you will need it. And that meditation actually helped me in focusing. because at that point of time I was so mentally down, devastated. I didn't know how to bring myself up. And I think that gave me a lot of force. So since then I have been following. And he also told me one thing, that spirituality or worshipping does not mean you sit and do puja the whole day. And I don't do that as well. My puja, my beliefs over the time has become more karma dependent oriented. So I believe in good work. I believe if everybody of us do our piece of little good work to the society, it creates a chain reaction. And I think that is what matters. So it's not only sitting in front of a deity or a god or a goddess or an idol and closing your eyes. I can sit anywhere in this world and close my eyes to find my spiritualism. For that I don't need to go inside a temple and ring the bell and sit there for hours. I don't do that. I really, very few time people have actually seen me inside a temple or doing some rituals. I do not believe in ritualistic practices anymore. But I know my spirituality is within me. And that's why I talk to my God like a friend. So if I'm in trouble, I just close my eyes and say, help me out of the situation. And I think there is a hand somewhere that yields you out of the situation. That's been my spirituality always.
I have I have a guru, and my Guruji, Shri Baba Thakur, always says, don't try to understand, try to stand under him.
So same my Guruji used to say, don't try to give him or her a name or a physique. He said life is like an algebra. When you don't have a solution, you take a X and try to go towards it. So whenever you don't find the meaning of anything, think there is an X and that is your divinity. So try to just go towards that X. Don't try to go into finding the deeper meanings of that X. I think that's what gives you the mental solace.
I heard a lot from you, Soma. Now going to Bhaswar, you tell me about your, any spiritual journey you have, till date.
I think every person defines spirituality in their own terms. I recall an incident a couple of years back on a Ashtami day, Durga Puja happening, and I still remember, and I perhaps talked about it to so many different friends. Everybody wants to go and then devote themselves during that Anjali time. That's okay, but I have seen people fighting for a piece of flower, for a piece of belpatta, and then they can kill the other person as well just for grabbing it off, right? Now this is also a form of spirituality in their own terms. So with this lighter note, the way I look at it, the rituals associated with all these religious practices are mostly perceived by people in India as spirituality. Unfortunately, in majority of the religious classes, schools, nobody defines them what is the essence of religion. The core is spirituality, rest everything is just like the skin. And I still remember my journey when I been blessed to be a part of the Ramakrishna Math ashram and culture. So I spent a few years of my studenthood at Ramakrishna Mission Narendrapur, and the reason why it was extremely interesting, because I did had an association with the Ramakrishna Mission from my early childhood, because my grandfather was a part of Belud Math when it was not even that Math was formed at that point of time. He is the disciple of Swami Nirmalananda ji, his Gurudev, and those are early, independence time. I'm talking about 1918 to 1920 when he came to Belud Math. At that point of time, they used to go and then beg for food for every day and then teach people in the local villages. Rest of the things has come much later on. So with that culture at my house, I has always seen him for his devotion perspective. But when I joined them, the very first thing which fascinated me, which changed the way I look at religion, is the prayer hall of Ramakrishna Mission. We have Ramakrishna Paramahamsa Dev. Then at the same time we have Prophet Muhammad, and on the same time we see Jesus. In the same prayer hall we are celebrating Christmas Day, we are celebrating Muhammad Prophet's birthday, and we are celebrating Kali Puja, Durga Puja, and of course the other Hindu celebrations. And that gave me, just not in a bookish knowledge when Ramakrishna Dev says Joto Math Toto Path, it is in true essence of life. It has been inculcated in an action form, and we have been taught every day to follow that. I did had a Muslim student in our batch. He's still associated. I keep seeing, even I think the last week I saw he has been working with the Maharaj of Nandapur right now, and he has been distributing some of the books to the other people. He coming from a Muslim family, he's still associated. So the way my vision about spirituality got formed in the early days of life is to accept all formats, the way Ramakrishna Mission tried to do that. And we believe that people must understand that core, the spirituality means getting connected with own self. And I still remember a small story. Someone came and then asked Ramakrishna that, how do you say that God is within? How do you know God is within? Somebody is saying God is in that particular structure, in that particular idol, and you are saying God is within. When Vivekananda said that Jive Prem Karaji John Singh Ishwar, how do I know that the God is within? He said, look at a mirror. And then he threw it on the floor, it becomes 100 different small pieces. Then he said, look at the sun through this mirror. Every piece of mirror is actually showing you that sun. Those small piece of mirrors is actually you. You are, as a children of God, there are billions of the people, there are all those small pieces of mirror, they're all representing that superpower. So when you look at within yourself, you are actually God. So the day you realize you are God, you have done the best learning of spirituality. So the way you treat God, you treat yourself, you treat to the other person, all your fellow belongings to this universe, everyone is God for you. This basic sense of understanding, the clarity that God exists amongst everyone, I think that's the core of spirituality. You don't need any other practices once you reach to that understanding. But it takes time for people perhaps to understand, because once someone understands, there's so much of intolerance, so much of not able to respect others, it's all coming because we are not understanding this core of spirituality. It is understanding God is represented within every possible living beings across this world.
Yeah, that way I think in our house we have been pretty blessed, because he being from Ramakrishna Mission, he has been through the scriptures, the Vedas. I have read Gita from my early days. I have been always studying since my early childhood, was in a hardcore Roman Catholic convent school. So I do have the Holy Bible with me. It was gifted to me, and I have attended many Bible classes. He had a colleague when he was posted in Middle East. He had a Turkish colleague who gifted us a Holy Quran in English. So we have all three, and in fact the best part is everything says the same thing. Of course, Gita is always talks about how you should lead your life, but when it talks to the basic essence of living, everything is the same. So that way I think we are blessed to be.
It is only because it happens only if you have a guru who makes you understand.
Yeah, so it's about self-introspection. You have to look into yourself, look into the mirror of your own soul to see what you want to see. How you want to see the world, I think that is what you see. So that is very important.
Soma, again, I will come back, to your areas of interest. Like, apart from your own clinic, then your spirituality. I heard that you love to cook. And you have, interest in singing and...
yeah, singing has been part of me ever since I think I started babbling. I've been, my mother says I started singing from the age of 2, and since then I've started training in Indian classical music since the age of 3. So I have trained in Indian classical music till my youth, and my gharana was Patiala gharana, so that's how I trained myself. So music is, yes, so I say, when people talk about music, I say there's only one thing. The only addiction I have in my life is probably music. I'm not addicted to tea, coffee, alcohol, anything. But the day music stops from my life, my heart will stop beating. So whether I'm in the clinic, whether I'm cooking, whether I'm doing anything, music has to be on, either in the form of playing some music or I keep on humming and singing. And that's how my patients also say, because it It happens very spontaneously. I don't think and I do. The moment I start my machine or I start some procedure, I start singing. So many times it has led to some embarrassed situations also. I remember when I was very young and in my college days, I was just an intern. So I extracted a tooth for an old gentleman and I was writing down the prescription. So constantly I was humming and singing. And now if you ask me later what song you were singing, most of the times I won't be able to tell you that because it just comes subconsciously. So this old gentleman, after giving instructions, he happily asked me in Bengali, "Ma, তোমাকে একটা question করবো?" I said, "Yes, please, go ahead." He says, "You must be very young and you must have just passed out. So, but why do you have so much of, sorrow in your life? তোমার জীবনে তো দুঃখ কিসের?" So I looked at him. I said, "Na, দুঃখ তো নেই. Like, I'm very happy-go-lucky person as such and I don't have any sorrows. Why?" He said, "No, you were, while extracting my tooth, you were singing." I was, it seems, humming a Shama Songit. Amar sadna mitilo, asha na purilo, shakole purai jaiva. So he said, "You were singing with such heart-wrenching, kind of thing. Only a person who has felt sorrow would have sung like that." I said, "Oh my God, now I need to be very careful about what I am singing and what I am not." Though that doesn't happen till day. Many times it so happens when we tell our patients that, while doing a procedure in the mouth, in case if it is painful, just raise your hand. So one time doing a procedure, suddenly this gentleman raises the hand. So I was quite surprised because I was not doing anything that could have elicited any form of pain. So I kept down my instruments and I said, "What happened? I did not do anything that would have elicited any pain. Why did you like?" He said, "नहीं मैम, आप जो गाना गा रहे हैं ना, इजाज़त मूवी का, उसी मूवी का एक और गाना है, मेरा खुद सामान, काइंडली वो गाइए." I said, so that was very embarrassing. So patient starts giving it. So it does happen. So the patients who know me will say, "आज ना और अंग्रेज सुनेंगे फिर काम करेंगे." So that also happened. So music has been always with me. I cannot live without music. Other than that, my hobbies, of course, another thing is literature. Literature, mostly English literature, though Bengali literature also I have read and I still do read. But English, because being in an English medium school, it's always been part of me. And again, that way the love of my life has always been William Shakespeare. So Shakespeare is in my every day, from morning to evening, whatever I do, I can relate it with William Shakespeare. So I do read a lot of books, I do write, and that way, so writing, earlier it was form of poetries or verses also, but now it's mostly pertinent to English poetries. And of course cooking, as you said, he is a foodie, I'm a foodie myself, and I love to kind of do the same thing. Suppose we have eaten something good somewhere, till I do not bring it back into my kitchen and make the same thing, I am not at mental peace. So wherever we have been all through in our, after our marriage, even before, wherever we have been to for tourism purposes, I have learned the local cuisine and I have come back and made him, and he's been always the judge or the person who has faced the brunt of bad dishes also.
Well, I think I can share a quick story. So I think after marriage, for the first time, we have been to Kerala, Trivandrum. So I went for a business trip and I said, "Come along so you can spend some time as well." So the hotel we are staying, we ordered a dish called Meen Pallichat. It's a very it's a signature dish of Kerala where they cook the whole fish and they add up some local spices.
No, they basically wrap it up in a banana
leaf. And then, of course, with her own style, once she has, enjoyed it, she said, "Can you please call the chef?" And the guy who was serving is like, "Yes, ma'am."
No, before that he told me, before that he told me, "Let me pay the bill and go out of this place, because now if the people start beating you, I don't know you." I said, "Okay, let me call them with my own thing." So I called that guy, the manager, restaurant manager. I said, "I want to meet the chef." So he was like, very unnerved. He said, "Madam, what happened? Like, is something gone wrong with the food?" No, it's not our chef's fault. I said, "No, it's too good and I really want to know the recipe." He goes and he just doesn't come back. So he says, "See, they're definitely not going to give out the recipe and let's move. We have to catch the bus and go back." So then I see the manager again coming back, and then he stands with his head down and he bows. He says, "Dekho, he's not going to give you the recipe." He says, "Ma'am, there's one small problem." I said, yeah, I understand. You have problem in sharing the recipe with me. He says, no, madam, that is not the problem. The problem is our chef does not know English or Hindi. he knows only Malayali, and he doesn't know how to communicate with you. He would be very happy to give you the recipe. So, do you mind if I stand here and I translate whatever the chef says in English and tell it to you? I said, that would be too kind of you, right? Reiki or pooch, you know, kind of. I said, yeah. So then he comes, and very sweet of him, both of them. The chef relates everything, and this guy writes down the recipe and gives it to me. So there was another small incident related with it. So they had particularly named an ingredient, which is basically kokum.
Kokum, yeah.
So they use kokum juice in that. So I said, where do you get kokum? They said, you will get it everywhere here in the market. So I told him, I want to go back and make this for you. So I definitely want to carry kokum from Kerala. So he says, okay, go. I go out in the market and I look for kokum. In vain, I do not find any kokum. I come back very frustrated. I tell the manager, you told me that kokum is available everywhere. Yahan pe to bol rahe kokum. Nobody knows even kokum. They say, oh madam, sorry, we call it kodam pulli in our local language. So you have to go and say kodam pulli. Again, I went back to the market. I said kodam pulli. I got kodam pulli. I brought it back. And Hyderabad, when I came back, I made mean pullichat. I served, and then I was in peace. So that has always happened with us, wherever we've been. So cooking is...
I think that's the most interesting part. Anywhere I have taken her, invariably within a month's time, I've been blessed with the same thing served on the plate. So yeah, I mean, of course, that's the 200 out of 100. I don't know how much I should score you, but I'm lucky enough to get them absolutely on my plate in the all subsequent
My
months.
father
And
used to
whenever
say,
I want to do that.
the shortcut to a man's heart is through his stomach. So because I follow my father in everything, I have tried to follow these footsteps as well. So
And this is true also.
this is-
because
yeah,
yes,
kind of-
yes. So nice talking to you, both of you. And I would like to have you again in the show. So enough for today.
it's a great honor for
And-
us as
Yeah.
well. It's
I
been
think you
excellent
really
and-
enjoyed this
Yes,
discussion,
true.
and then it was good having interesting chit chats, and then it's a pleasure. We'd definitely love
sharing
to meet up again.
various
Yeah.
anecdotes from day-to-day life. It's been quite an honor for us as well to be on this show.
So beautiful couple from Dadagiri to their own original life. They are doctors. They are scientists. Both of you are scientists also, because living with him, you came to know so many things, and even about her profession, so many things.
Even after
So-
my marriage, initial days, I used to read a lot of his journals,
Yeah.
to the extent that once his customers started calling me for problematic solutions, I said, no, thank you. I'm not the scientist. The scientist is out of town. He'll soon be in.
Yes.
So
So again, it is a very pleasure to have you here, both of you. So thank you so much,
Thank you.
Dr. Soma, and thank you so much, Dr. Bhaswar.
So much.
thank you so much. Thanks a ton.
And both of you, please be happy like this always.
Thank you.